Growing up, my sister, 29-year-old female, and I never seemed to get along. It was always a competition with her, and she found a way to have it her way all the time because I was a pushover, and my parents were always busy, so they just assumed I didn't mind. Once, a boy she liked asked me out, and because I knew she liked him, I turned him down and even offered to introduce him to my sister. I understood that she would be a little upset, but instead she goes around our school and family friends talking about how I threw myself at the guy she likes and what an intimacy worker I was. When I graduated high school, I got into a pretty good college on a half scholarship. I posted about it on my Instagram and even got treated to a fancy dinner by my cousins. All this while, she was still living with us and attended a community college after my parents' persistence. When she found out about the posts and dinner, she went crying to my dad, who has always favored her, and took her side and threatened to not pay for my college for flexing and being ungrateful. There would also be times where he'd buy her whatever she wanted for her birthday, like a new phone or diamond jewelry. But if my mom or relatives bought me anything for my birthday, he'd make a face and mumble to himself about how much money I waste. For my 16th birthday, my mom bought me a diamond necklace with my name on it. My sister acted like she dropped it when I was away and damaged it by messing up the lock. We tried returning it and getting it fixed after, but they quoted my mom a very high amount to get it repaired. My dad somehow forced my mom to just exchange the necklace into money for family reasons, which was really just to throw my sister a bigger 17th birthday party, while he didn't even throw any party for my 16th birthday. His reason? You need to focus on your exams. Focus. Many years later, I moved out, took out a student loan, and got a job. My fiancé, 29-year-old male, and I, 28-year-old female, are getting married in May, and I love him a lot. I recently arranged a girls' trip to Vegas for my bachelorette party with all my girls. When I told my parents about this plan, my dad insisted I let my sister come with me too, because a marriage in the family is a family event. My sister already booked tickets without even asking me if she could join us, which I found extremely annoying because I felt like I had my hand forced into allowing her to come. After talking to my fiancé about it, I decided I would let her come on our trip also, because she's been spamming my phone, practically begging me. On that trip, we were also going to go pick up my wedding dress and dresses for the bridesmaids. During the shopping, she was acting very rude and constantly commenting on the body shapes of other bridesmaids, and making comments about how certain types of dresses would not look nice on them. She also picked the most cleavage-showing dresses that I was not very comfortable with on my wedding. A few days after shopping, I find out from the store manager that we had 2 white dresses to be tailored. I was confused and asked her what she meant, and she told me that one dress was the one I picked, and the other was a short-lace mini white dress. I called up my maid of honor, my best friend, and she tells me that she saw my sister check out white dresses at the store. I called her up and asked if it was hers, and my dad joined the call and said it was only fair if she also walked down the aisle in white, because she was getting older and is still single and may not have the experience of doing it in her 20s. And as a good sister, it is only fair for me to want to do it with her, as it shows our close sisterly bond. I told my bridesmaids and fiancé about this, and they were all shocked at my father's behavior. My mom has been pretty quiet about this whole situation, but was also upset with my dad. I informed some of my cousins, and they all tried to talk to my dad about how that's a bad idea. And he said that he won't let us do it at our decided venue. We're doing it at our family vacation home in another state to keep costs low if we don't let her. I never had big parties or celebrations. It was always my spoiled sister who had the big parties and gifts. I picked my family vacation house because it was my late grandmother's house that my dad now owns. My family and friends are offering to help us cover the costs of finding a bigger, nicer venue. But my mom is asking me to work it out with my father and sister, who are refusing to talk to me because I'm being an egotistic bride. When I heard that, I got really mad and yelled at him for all his shortcomings as a father in my life and blocked both of them. His side of the family has been calling me nonstop to calm down and talk to them as well. Am I overreacting? Should I just talk it out and convince her to pick another dress? Update. I sent the link to this post in my family group chat with all my distant relatives too. They all saw it and read it. I got a lot of support from my mom's side, and my dad's side just stopped calling me and is quiet. I think the whole family is just really upset with my sister and father right now. My mom has also moved in with her sister after my aunt scolded her for not standing up for me. I've called my dad and sister with my fiancé and explained that they are not invited to my wedding and that they will never get to be part of my new married life, know my future children, or see them grow up, and have lost me as family. The lady at the bridal store canceled my sister's order for free after I told her about this situation. I put a password on the order that only I know, too. I'm having a small courthouse wedding and using all the extra money for a grand honeymoon traveling Europe since my fiancé and I love traveling and met that way too. Thank you so much for your support, suggestions, and advice. It means so much to me. Edit. So, a lot of people have been asking about this, so I thought I'd just mention it here. Growing up, I think until I was a teen, we were in a very weird financial situation, and money was tough. My sister and I were born back to back, and because of our short age gap and our parents being in their early 20s while entering parenthood, I always felt like I was the reason for our financial position. I was more or less the unexpected, unwanted child of his, while my sister was planned. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. The solution is to invite your father and sister and hire security to keep her out specifically. Sit your father down and explain that he has always made you come second to your sister. Tell him all the events you told us. Tell him he is now choosing your sister at your own wedding, and so he cannot be part of it anymore. You are an adult. Start acting like it and put your foot down. Comment 2. Not the idiot, but you need to do a better job at standing up for yourself. You've been letting yourself get steamrolled by your sister and dad in the hopes of getting your dad's approval or sister's love at some point, but they don't care about you. Only what you can do for them. You need to start focusing on yourself and blast your dad to your family and what he's doing. Now for the update, thank you for keeping up with my story. So the situation with my sister and dad just went from bad to worse. After I blocked them, I thought I'd get some peace, but no such luck. My dad actually showed up at my work, causing a scene, demanding I talk to him. It was embarrassing, and my boss had to step in. I had to explain the whole family drama to him, which was the last thing I wanted to do. Meanwhile, my sister was on a mission to turn the rest of the family against me. She told everyone that I was being unreasonable and that I had always been jealous of her. It's like she's living in her own world where she's the victim. My cousins, who were trying to be neutral, started to distance themselves from me because they didn't want to get involved in the drama. Then, the bombshell dropped. My mom called me crying, saying that my dad had given her an ultimatum. Either she convinces me to let my sister wear the white dress and walk down the aisle, or he would file for divorce. I couldn't believe it. My mom was being put in the middle of this, and it was tearing her apart. I felt trapped. If I gave in to my dad's demands, it would mean letting my sister overshadow my wedding day. But if I didn't, I risked being the reason my parents split up. It was a lose-lose situation. My fiancé was supportive, but he was also getting fed up with the constant drama affecting our lives. In the end, I made the hard choice. I told my mom that I couldn't let my sister have her way. It was supposed to be my day, and I was tired of always being pushed aside. My mom understood, but the disappointment in her voice was clear. A few days later, she called to tell me that my dad had moved out and was staying with his brother. The fallout was immediate. My dad's side of the family blamed me for the split, and I became the black sheep overnight. My sister, of course, played the role of the innocent bystander perfectly. It's like she thrives on the chaos she creates. With the family vacation home no longer an option, my fiancé and I decided to go with the courthouse wedding. It was small, intimate, and stress-free. We took the money we saved and planned an amazing honeymoon. We're going to visit all the places we've dreamed of, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I can breathe. It's not the ending I wanted, but it's the one I got. I lost a lot, but I also gained a sense of freedom from my family's toxic dynamics. It's a fresh start for me and my fiancé, and that's what matters most. Thank you for reading. My ex-wife insists I ruined her financially by giving up the house. So when she begs for help, I remind her of the 10 years she spent wasting money and watch as she sells the house she fought so hard to keep. My ex-wife Becca is 7 years older than me and has retired after 35 years of teaching. We had our kids later in life, and she took 4 years off to stay at home with them. I'm 58 now, and my ex decided 10 years ago that I wasn't who she wanted in her life anymore. It was a fairly peaceful divorce. Our kids were both in university, and we had that taken care of. The only real sticking point was our home. I thought we should sell the house and each use the money to buy something smaller, and that would require much less maintenance. It is a 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom house we bought after we got married. We got it at a very good price, and it has appreciated quite nicely over the last 38 years. Becca wanted to keep the house so the kids could keep their rooms, and so she had space for our, at that time, non-existent grandkids. Myself, our kids, our lawyers, everyone told her that it was a bad idea. I gave in and traded away alimony for my share of the house. Like I said, my kids were in school and neither of them planned on their careers keeping them in our town. My work gives me $250 a day tax-free as a living allowance since I work away from home. Rather than stay in a hotel, I have been renting a house in the city where I work. It works out well since I'm saving on travel back and forth. I see my kids when they have time. I took extra time off when my first grandchild was born. I can afford to do a lot of stuff I skipped before because I was saving for 2 people in retirement. Now that it's just me, I'm doing quite well. Becca is not. She wanted the lifestyle I was funding to continue. She went through her savings and now she just has her pension. Which is pretty good, I think. But it isn't enough to pay the property taxes as well as pay for her trips, maintenance, and stuff. She is having to sell her house where neither kid ever returned to live in after graduation. She has to travel to see our grandchild, since my daughter is just at the beginning of her career and cannot take that much time off. She has been complaining to anyone who will listen that I'm living high on the hog and she is going to be homeless. That isn't true. There will be a bit of capital gains tax, but she will have an amount that will let her buy a condo for herself that is affordable. If she wants to keep the house, she could do a reverse mortgage, but I think that's a terrible idea. I think part of it is that I have a girlfriend now who is in her mid-30s and she never found the guy she thought would be better than me. I think the guy she was seeing after we broke up was supposed to be him, but he didn't work out. She is pissed that because of how I get paid, her alimony seemed like not a lot compared to owning a house free and clear. I don't think it's my fault she wouldn't listen. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You offered her alternatives and made it very clear about the consequences of each choice, as did the lawyers in your divorce. She's an adult and made what she thought was the best decision. And she was wrong, but she was informed. If anyone tricked her, it was herself. Against everyone's advice, and this was years ago. Any consequences are totally her fault. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Frankly, her financial choices and lack of accountability aren't your problem to deal with, so you should not be investing any more thought into this situation. Let her complain as much as she wants. Understand that no one with reason believes you're somehow to blame, and focus on your own life. Now, for the update. Thanks for the comments on my last update. Things have taken a turn since then. Just when I thought Becca had settled on selling the house, she threw a curveball. She's been talking to our son, who's been doing well in his tech job, and now she's convinced him to help her out financially. He's agreed to pay off her property taxes and some of the maintenance costs. I can't say I'm thrilled about it. I mean, he's just starting to make good money and should be saving for his own future, not bailing out his mom for choices we all warned her against. Meanwhile, my work situation got shaky. The company I've been with for years lost a major contract, and suddenly, my daily living allowance is on the chopping block. They're talking about restructuring, which could mean I'll have to go back to staying in hotels or finding a cheaper place to rent. That's a hit to my wallet and my comfort. The stress of it all has been affecting my relationship with my girlfriend. She's been supportive, but I can tell she's worried about the financial implications if my situation doesn't stabilize soon. We've had a few arguments, nothing major, but it's clear that the pressure is getting to us both. And then, as if things couldn't get more complicated, Becca's health took a nosedive. She's been diagnosed with a chronic condition that's going to require ongoing treatment. It's not life-threatening, but it's another expense, and it's made her even more dependent on our son's help. I feel for her, I really do, but I can't help but feel a bit of resentment too. She's put herself in this position, and now it's affecting our kids. Just last week, my daughter called me, upset. She's been trying to juggle her career with being a new mom, and now she's feeling the pressure to chip in and help her brother support Becca. She's torn because she wants to help her mom, but she's also trying to build her own life and provide for her child. I've been losing sleep over this. I could dip into my savings to help out, but that would mean compromising my retirement plans. I've worked hard to get where I am, and I've already given up a lot in the divorce. It's a hard choice, but I'm leaning towards not getting involved financially. I've got to think about my future too. Then 2 days ago, Becca called me out of the blue. She was in tears, saying she didn't know what to do. She apologized for not listening to me during the divorce and admitted she was wrong about the house. She even hinted that she missed what we had. It was a lot to process, and part of me felt vindicated, but it also broke my heart to hear her like that. I've been talking to a financial advisor to see if there's a way to support Becca without jeopardizing my own security. It's a delicate balance, and I'm not sure what the right move is. I want to be there for her, but I also need to protect myself. In the midst of all this, my girlfriend did something unexpected. She offered to move in with me, saying we could split the rent on a new place. It would ease my financial burden and give us a chance to really build a life together. It's a big step, and I'm not sure if I'm ready for that kind of commitment again, especially with everything else going on. I've got a lot to think about. I need to make decisions that are right for me, but I also can't ignore the fact that my actions affect the people I care about. It's a tough spot to be in, and I'm just hoping I can find a way through it that doesn't leave anyone, including myself, in a worse place. Thanks for reading. My brother refused to help our dying mom and cut ties with me, but now he's broke and begging for shelter, so I let him move in only to kick him out on his first night. I, 16-year-old male, was a product of an affair. My mom cheated on her husband, my brother's dad, which caused their divorce. My brother, 30-year-old male, and I had a good relationship, but his relationship with our mom wasn't really okay. The problem started when I was around 11. My mom was diagnosed with lung cancer. My mom and I were poor, and we didn't really have any insurance, so she wasn't able to afford treatment. Over time, she was getting progressively worse. When I was 13, I decided to ask my brother if he could help pay for our mom's treatment because we couldn't afford it, and he and his dad were very well off. However, he refused. By the time I was 14, I had asked about 5 times already because I was desperate and didn't want to lose my mom. The last time I asked my brother for help, he yelled at me and told me to stop asking him for money because he wasn't going to give me a dime, and our mom would be the last person he'd help. After my brother said that, my relationship with him started to deteriorate, and 3 months later, my mom died. I had to live with my aunt as she gained custody of me. After the funeral, I completely decided to stop having a relationship with my brother altogether. My aunt is his aunt, so it's kind of hard to avoid him altogether, but I try my best. He's been trying to come over to my aunt's place more often and to communicate with me, but I've always just locked myself in my room until he left. The problem was today, my aunt decided to hand me her phone and told me my brother wanted to talk to me. Usually when she does this, I just hang up the phone on him, but I guess she knew what I was about to do and told me to please just talk to him. So I just decided to hear what he wanted to say just for her. He basically asked me how I was doing and wanted to tell me that he looks forward to seeing me graduate this year. He also asked me if he could potentially take me on a trip for my birthday, April 3rd, because it falls on spring break. I told him no thanks and that I'd prefer if he doesn't come to my graduation, and I hung up. He tried calling my aunt again, but I said I didn't want to talk to him. My aunt said okay and didn't try to get me to talk to him again. After about an hour or so, my aunt came into my room crying and told me that I should rebuild a connection with him and that our mom wouldn't want us to act this way toward each other. I told my aunt that I was sorry, but I don't think our relationship could go back to the way it used to be, and I only tolerate him because of her. When I said that, she just told me she understands and left me alone. But I heard her go into her room, and I can hear her crying through the walls, and I don't know what to do. I know I can't stop him from coming to my graduation if I wanted to, but I just don't want him there at all. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, I'm going with no idiots here. You have a right to your feelings, so does your brother. I'm guessing the treatment wouldn't have saved her, but I get it. She didn't get the chance to try. It is just a crappy situation that was honestly placed upon you and your brother by your mother. Your story has similarities to my situation in my youth. My fiancé got pregnant by a good friend of mine. I didn't find out until after the baby was born. It was a mess. Years later, I found out my ex died of cancer. While I sorta hated her, I also didn't want her to die. Truth be told, I keep track of her daughter on FB. She lives a few towns over from us. She is 40 now. Feelings, especially anger and guilt, are powerful emotions. It is something hard to get a handle on. You will never understand your brother's pain and anger, and he will never understand yours. It seems, though, he is willing to try to reach out to you. You have no obligation to do so, but I'm guessing some years down the road, you may be inclined to reciprocate his offer to you. I wished I had handled some things differently. What we did impacted a little girl's life, and I will always be a little sad about that. Comment 2. Not the idiot. I'm sorry for your loss, and that you've had to deal with all of this at such a young age. It's your graduation. If you don't want him there, you have every right to say so, and it's your life. If you don't want to build a connection with him, no one can force you to. It's understandable that your aunt is upset by the situation, and she might not realize how you feel about your brother. Give it a couple of days and ask her if you can talk to her. Tell her everything you feel about your mom, about your brother, all of it. Tell her that you understand that she is just trying to help, and you can see that she thinks you building a relationship with your brother would be a good thing. But could she please try to see it from your perspective and stop trying to force you to interact with your brother? The reason I'm suggesting that is, you don't know what your brother has told her, and maybe she hasn't really considered how you feel. I hope everything turns out well for you. Now for the update, thanks for all the comments on my last post. So something big happened this week. My aunt, she's been acting weird lately, like she's hiding something. She's been on the phone a lot, whispering and stuff. I didn't think much of it until yesterday when she sat me down at the kitchen table. She had this serious look on her face, the kind she gets when she's about to drop some bad news. Turns out my brother, he's been in some trouble. He's been big trouble. He got caught up in some shady business deals, and now he's lost a lot of money. Like, a lot. My aunt says he's practically broke. And here's the thing. He's been trying to sell his house, his car, everything, just to pay off debts. I couldn't believe it. This was the same guy who wouldn't spare a dime for our mom's treatment, and now he's scraping pennies together. I felt this weird mix of anger and, I don't know, pity, but I pushed that aside. I mean, why should I care, right? He never cared when it mattered. My aunt, she's all torn up about it, saying families should stick together and help each other out. She's been losing sleep over it, I can tell. She's got these dark circles under her eyes, and she's been snapping at little things, which isn't like her at all. Anyway, she's been trying to get me to talk to him, to give him a chance to explain himself. I've been avoiding it, but she's persistent. So I finally agreed to meet him just to get her off my back. We met at this old diner we used to go to as kids. It was awkward, to say the least. He looked different. Not the confident, put-together guy I remembered. He was a mess, unshaven, clothes all rumpled. He started talking, apologizing for everything. Said he was sorry for not helping with Mom's treatment, sorry for all the years we lost. He was practically begging for forgiveness. And then he dropped another news. He said he's got no one else to turn to, and he asked if he could move in with us, with me and my aunt. I was floored. I didn't know what to say. I told him I needed time to think about it, and I left. I could see he was desperate, but a part of me just didn't care. I went home and told my aunt what happened. She didn't say much, just nodded and went to her room. I could hear her crying again. It's like I can never do right by her, no matter what I choose. But then, today, I found out something else. My brother, he's been going to these support groups for people who've lost family to cancer. He's been going for months trying to deal with his guilt, I guess. I overheard my aunt talking about it on the phone. It hit me hard. I never even thought he felt guilty. I always saw him as this cold-hearted guy who didn't care about anyone but himself. I've been thinking about it all day. It's like I'm seeing him in a new light, but I'm not sure I'm ready to let go of all that anger. It's been eating at me, you know? But seeing my aunt so upset, knowing my brother's at rock bottom, it's messing with my head. So I made a decision. I told my aunt we could let him stay with us, just for a little while, until he gets back on his feet. She was so relieved, she hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. I'm not doing it for him, I'm doing it for her. She's done so much for me, and I can't stand seeing her like this. I haven't told my brother yet. I'm going to tell him tomorrow. I don't know how it's going to go or if I'm even doing the right thing, but I guess we'll see. It's weird. I never thought I'd be in this position, helping the guy who turned his back on us. Life's strange like that. Thanks for reading. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.